Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome into another edition of Final Whistle. You know who it is. It's Blaine Spencer, your host. I got a co-host with me today. I've got Joseph Papandrea, Seton Hall Athletics, former St. John's Athletics as well. We're going to be talking some March Madness, but there was some big news that broke instead, and he's also a diehard Houston fan, so we're going to be talking some Texans and some Cardinals today too. Paps, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Blaine. But yeah, don't even tell people that I'm a diehard Houston fan. That city, we'll get into it. We'll dive into all the great players who they once had.
I don't want to lie to my fan base, you know. Well, let's start with the breaking news that ended up coming into place yesterday. JJ Watt, source himself. Yeah, everyone was trying to figure out in the media where he was going to go. It looked like Green Bay, Cleveland, Buffalo, Pittsburgh. Nobody saw it coming. He chose the Arizona Cardinals. And if you guys haven't been following me at all, I made this prediction. I've been hyping myself up this ever since this broke. DeAndre Hopkins reached out to him on Twitter a couple weeks ago. He said, let's finish what we started. And JJ Watt is now an Arizona Cardinal. 2 years, $31 million, 23 of the million guaranteed. And let's make it pretty simple. This was the biggest offer he had received from any of the teams, and money ended up playing more of a factor than we thought. We thought it was going to be more about trying to bring in a ring for himself, but instead he ended up going to Arizona, which is a team that is on the rise. And we're going to dive into the Arizona Cardinals roster. But Paps, what was your initial reaction? JJ Watt, one of your heroes. I know you've got a bunch of JJ Watt uniforms. Just go through it.
No, definitely not. The Cardinals was not my initial pick for him. I was thinking, maybe he wanted to go play the back end of his career with his two younger brothers, Derek and TJ out in Pittsburgh. But, I think he wanted to stay away from that, not get lost in that family connection there, and wanted to kind of do it on his own, go to a different contender. Steelers, we don't know what's to come with Big Ben. From what we've heard, I think they are going to keep him another year. So I think he just wanted to go with a younger quarterback who now has some experience in Kyler Murray. And, that offense with DeAndre Hopkins now is on the rise, and they're definitely a contender. Just missed the playoffs last year by a game or two. I think it was one loss that kept them from making the wild card game. So yeah, this was a surprise for me, but not when you look at the reasons that he went there. He's familiar with the defensive coordinator who once worked as on the Texans side of the defense, Vance Joseph. And then, like we said, the players he gets to play with on defense, Chandler Jones. Now the question is, who do you double on that defense? Do you double JJ or do you double Jones? So, this is a big question, and I'm very excited to see what that defense is going to do. I know we also talked about Budda Baker and if they're going to bring back other players on that defense, if they're going to bring back Reddick. So, that defense is pretty much stacked on all ends.
For sure. And I think for Arizona's speaking point, if you it came down to week 17. It was them or the Chicago Bears. They had their opportunity. All they had to do was beat the Los Angeles Rams with John Wolford at quarterback. Unfortunately, Kyler ended up getting hurt in that game and didn't come back till late in the fourth quarter as more of a desperation attempt. But this offense is legit. You have weapons all across the field. You have Kenyon Drake in the backfield. You have Chase Edmonds in the backfield. Hopkins, as we've already mentioned. You got Christian Kirk. You got Keyshawn Johnson, not the Keyshawn Johnson that were the stud wide receiver, but a young wide receiver, Keyshawn Johnson. Fitzgerald, he's going to probably be coming back now. He ain't retiring anytime soon because he knows they've got a couple of years now to actually make a run at a title. The NFC West is absolutely stacked now. But yeah, you mentioned it, Paps. If they bring back Hassan Reddick, you can move JJ Watt to all four positions of that defensive line. You could do almost like what the New York Giants did in 2007 with the DN pass rush, just like the speed rush ability, moving JJ inside and then Hassan and Chandler Jones on the outside. You have Isaiah Simmons, who finally come into his own that as a rookie last year, late in the season. He's a do-it-all. You can play him at any position you want, basically, based off his crazy athleticism. Then if you bring back Patrick Peterson, you have Byron Murphy as well. I mean, the team is really coming together, the Arizona Cardinals, real quick. But there's this crazy stat. Since 2012, 1 and 2 in sacks, Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. So just, I know J.J. Watt hasn't been healthy as much as you would like, but you have now the top 2 pass rushers since 2012 sack-wise. Absolutely scary that these Arizona Cardinals are going to be.
Absolutely. And not only that, another reason why they say J.J. Watt picked the Cardinals, they do get to play the Texans every 4 years, but in 2021, the Arizona Cardinals will play the Texans, and I know JJ is looking for revenge there.
Lock him up for 4.5 sacks. Lock him up for 4.5 sacks. He's in for a monster day against the Houston Texans. But I think more than anything, how deep is the NFC West now? I think adding that 7th playoff team has now just ensured that the NFC West could potentially have all 4 teams in the playoffs, especially if the 49ers can come back healthy. Then you have Russell Wilson, you have Matthew Stafford now on the Rams. Like, this division is absolutely scary. It's not even close that they're the best division in football now. Like, what's your overall take what the NFC West is going to look like? Those division games are going to be nuts to watch.
Yeah, that has to be the toughest division now in football, especially if Russell Wilson stays with the Seahawks. The Rams now have Stafford. Cardinals, obviously, Kyler Murray, and 49ers. If Garoppolo is healthy, we've seen him make it to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, as long as they come back healthier than ever, that's going to be one of the toughest divisions to win, especially in the NFC.
What do you think of the Cardinals? Does this put them into a dark horse spot out of the NFC now?
Definitely a wild card. I think the few missing pieces were a few on defense. If they get one more offensive weapon in the draft, I think it's a lock in the wild card. They were only one game, like we said, and Kyler did go out. So if he never went out and they win that game, they're a wild card team.
Yeah, I think it's going to be must-see television, the NFC West, whenever they're having a divisional matchup. But for me, I mean, this kind of hurts my guesses because I had Deshaun Watson if he's able to potentially get out of Houston. I know it's a touchy subject for you. But I had him actually going to San Francisco. I think that's kind of been washed off of the table now with how insane the NFC West is kind of now folded together. If you're going to be going against J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, like the list goes on about how many different pass rushers you'd be going against. But there's a little bit of a curse that we were kind of calling it, so to speak, for the city of Houston. Paps, I know you brought up this crazy stat and numbers that you found this morning before we got onto your live. So why don't you run through that for us?
Yeah. So, in the past year, the city of Houston across all their sports have lost J.J. Watt, Garrett Cole, George Springer, Russell Westbrook, DeAndre Hopkins, and James Harden. All superstars in Houston, all gone. J.J. Watt now on the Arizona Cardinals, Garrett Cole on the New York Yankees, Springer signing with the Toronto Blue Jays this year, Russell Westbrook in DC now, Hopkins now teammates with J.J. Watt, reuniting on the Cardinals, James Harden obviously in Brooklyn now. So
absolutely,
I don't know what it is about Houston, and let's not forget Watson is definitely on the outs once Houston, figures it out and finally realizes that they got to let him go.
And that's not all. I mean, they trade part of the James Harden deal. You brought in Victor Oladipo, and like Victor Oladipo already turned down his two-year, $45 million extension. It sounds like they're not going to be compromising either now. So it looks like Oladipo's now coming out. He's in the last year of his deal. They're going to be moving him now, probably. Like, I don't know what it is. Do you think there's just something is there an aura around the city of Houston right now? Or do you think it's organizational wise? What is it?
To be honest, I think it's really the organizations. All those teams were, playoff championship caliber teams. When you look at it, the Rockets, who've missed out in the playoffs multiple times, the Astros, who have won a World Series and then made the playoffs numerous times, Texans making the playoffs numerous times, winning their division numerous times. But besides the Astros, no other championships around that. And, players don't want to stick around if you're not going to win championships. Not to forget that DeMarcus Cousins, who was just released by the Rockets. So,
Yeah, you're right.
These players want to win a championship before, they hit that age. So I think it's just organizational standpoint that they're not in the right mindset to win championships right now. I think it's all going to be rebuilding from here.
Yeah, and I think also all of those organizations, all three teams in Houston have gone through their little bit own scandal in the past couple of years too. It's not like, I mean, Houston Astros themselves about the stealing signs. I mean, the Rockets with the whole D'Antoni situation, and then with trying to figure out James Harden, as well as the I think it was Daryl Morey with his comments about China. He's not even, I think that's a big thing too. Daryl Morey, he's gone, the GM. Like, I think the whole team, like all the teams, you're right. They're all now in a different mindset than what the superstars want. They're all in rebuilds.
How can we forget the Bill O'Brien
Bill
era?
O'Brien, exactly. Bill O'Brien with DeAndre Hopkins, that whole situation. I mean, Bill O'Brien's been in several scandals, I think, for the Texans, but that's like the one that really brings out what you to your mind. But still, I think that everything you're right. It's a mindset standpoint. The superstars are looking for championship win now scenarios, while the teams are like, hey, we're going to need a couple more years till we make that run. Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback in this league. He ain't messing around to freaking waste 3 years of his prime to be doing some damn rebuild. So, and like same thing goes for, Oladipo is more surprising to me than Watson, because Oladipo's coming off of a gruesome quad injury last year that took him out basically the entire season. And you turn down $45 million. There is something that we don't know that's happening in that organization, that they're just not seeing eye to eye or whatnot. But the city of Houston is burning quick. So absolutely. Paps, what's your destination now for Deshaun Watson? Where do you see it? I know we didn't get to mention it last time you were on. So
right. So originally, when all this news came out, tears falling from eyes, especially seeing Jets come up. I thought the New York Jets were the dumpster fire of the NFL. I have now transitioned to my own team being the dumpster fire, the Houston Texans, the dumpster fire of the NFL now. But, originally it was between the Jets and the Miami Dolphins, just with the picks they have that they could potentially trade for Deshaun Watson. But, with the rumors now shifting toward the Chicago Bears and the Panthers, whether the Texans want to check their voicemail and pick up the phone, I think he goes to the NFC somewhere, probably. If the Bears do it right and they offer the right amount, I could see him playing in Chicago or potentially the Panthers. But let's not forget, the Saints don't have a quarterback besides Jameis Winston. So
they have no capital to give you.
That's the problem. So, but the Saints as well are looking at Russell Wilson. That's if he goes. But yeah, I think Chicago or the Panthers have the best placement on getting Deshaun Watson, unless the Jets or Miami sneak up there. Again, I hate to say it, but I think the Bears are my team right now.
Oh, come on. Deshaun Watson. They passed on him. He's going to hold a grudge.
You know what? Let me go back. My big sleeper, right now the favorite is probably Chicago because they're going all in on him. But my sleeper that I have read up on is if the Dallas Cowboys swap out Dak for Deshaun Watson, Cowboys are the sleeper.
Stop talking right now. I will take you off of this podcast at any second.
Cowboys
With what gibberish is coming out of your mouth?
Cowboys are the sleeper, if you're gonna ask me, Blaine. And I don't hate it.
I think it's gonna come down to the three teams that he's approved, which is Miami, the Jets, and Carolina. I think Carolina is really interesting because you could get a lot from Carolina. Because from what I've heard, they're willing to put McCaffrey in the deal. I mean, if you're willing to give up 3 ones, McCaffrey too, I understand Houston has had its struggles of trading for running backs with the whole David Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins trade. You guys just released Duke Johnson this week as well. I mean, I don't know. I think Christian McCaffrey would be a great fit, but I don't know how that will work out. But I think it's just going to come down to the Jets and the Dolphins because those are two teams that are in the same division. They both have all the draft capital. They're not going to have it next year. It's all this year's draft capital. And I think the Texans can get on the phone and, hey, give me your highest bid. What can you give me? Pin them against the two of each other. What do you think about those? I know Chicago. Chicago just doesn't make sense because why would you go? I think if it's a trust thing which it is with the Houston Texas organization, where's the trust in Chicago when Chicago traded up to take someone else in that draft class? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've heard multiple things that Chicago has reached out. The Texans just aren't picking up the phone. There's multiple teams out there that want to just get this deal done with Deshaun Watson. Another team that we didn't mention were the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos are also another team that Deshaun had put out that he would play for. So there's multiple teams out on the table. It's just whether Houston wants to pick up the phone, answer the calls, and whoever gives them the best offer. But even with Houston, we could see even the best offer might not go their way, especially when we go back to the DeAndre Hopkins trade, getting Johnson a 2nd round and a 4th round pick. But that was all Bill O'Brien. We don't know what the case will be now with their new head coach. So I think all those teams we had mentioned are on the table. I wouldn't put anyone out. Even if Deshaun says no to that team, all of them are going to make offers, but the Dolphins and the Jets do have the most picks to offer and the QBs. But please no Sam Darnold in Houston.
I would take Sam Darnold right now. I would take Darnold. I'd take Tua. I mean, Alex Smith is now out.
I'll take McCaffrey. We haven't had a good running back since Arian Foster. So
I mean, you wouldn't have a good running back. You'd have arguably the best running back in football.
top 3 running back.
Minimum top 3. You can't arguing for the top spot. I mean, but I think more than anything, what we've learned is that the city of Houston has a curse. And it's not just affecting one team, it's affecting all of the teams.
Right. Yeah. So like I said, all those teams are out there. It hasn't been narrowed down. Houston's just being stubborn about, letting him go and facing reality that, they got to give him up at a point. If we get too far into this and there's no deal done, Deshaun Watson's not playing in 2021. He will sit out.
Oh, he's got no problem with that for sure.
Oh, no problem at all. He's made enough money. He's got the contract. So, Houston better make a deal or they're going to get nothing for him.
No doubt. And all I can say is 24-0 is what really turned the page for the Houston Texans.
That was
everything looked great, and then everything has fallen apart rapidly. I'm just going to say this now. City of Houston, the mayor, you better be calling some voodoo people to try and figure out what's going on with your sports teams. Otherwise, no one's going to be coming to play there anytime soon.
Houston's going to be in a championship drought.
Oh, they might be turning into the city of Cleveland real quick. Because, even Chicago had those droughts too, Cleveland and Chicago. Houston's the next team up for the significant droughts in all of their sports teams at the moment. Well, let's switch gears. It's March, baby. It's our time. Probably arguably the greatest month of the year, sports-wise. He's pointing at it. He's got a Seton Hall. We're Hall guys.
Let's
We're
go.
barely in. Somehow we're still in. We're taking
Hanging on
it.
by a thread.
Hanging on.
Give us the
If we
playing
lose,
game.
if you heard us now, if we lose Wednesday, it's probably a wrap. So if you're listening, Kevin Willard, Sandro Mamukelishvili, get the job done. Bryce Aiken might play. Did you hear about that? He's thinking about it. He's going to try.
I think that's the key of the game. If he plays, we should have a good game against UConn. So it's a must-win game. So he's got to be thinking, I got to play. Without Bryce Aiken, they just have not been playing well.
They have no second scorer.
Not at all. And
and you brought Aiken in to be that second scorer. He's one of the top scorers in Harvard history. So you brought him in to be that guy, and the problem with him coming in was that he couldn't stay healthy. And what has happened this year? He hasn't stayed healthy. It's unfortunate, but we're going to try something out here. We're going to be going through some of the scenarios. We're going to be looking at Joe Lunardi's bracket. Well, I am. I think Paps has Andy Katz's bracket up, but I'm going to hype up Joe Lunardi because if you didn't see yet on Friday, I interviewed Joe Lunardi. So go check that interview out.
Definitely check that out.
Had to get that in there. But so I'm going to be pulling up some of the teams that are on the bubble right now. And Paps, we're going to do a little game here. And I'm going to give you 3 or 4 different scenarios that could be the potential first 4 games for the bubble teams, not those 16 seed playing games, but on the bubble. So this is Joe Lunardi. His last 4 buys right now: Louisville, UConn, VCU, Boise State. His last 4 in: Drake, Seton Hall, Xavier. Last team in is Georgia Tech. His first 4 out: Michigan State, Duke, Indiana, Utah State. And then the next 4 out: St. Louis, SMU, Syracuse, Memphis. And we all know how this works on the bubble now, that if you go 2-0 in a week, you're from out to in, because usually everyone else is playing 500 basketball. So if you can go perfect one week, you usually jump yourself from outside the bubble, inside the bubble. So I'm going to round off some teams, but let's go based off of the first bracket that has his 4 in now, which is Drake versus Seton Hall, Xavier out of Georgia Tech. Paps, give me a rating. 1 out of 10. What do you think that those 4 games are? So it'd be Drake versus Seton Hall and Xavier versus Georgia Tech. Give me a rating out of 10.
Love the Seton Hall matchup against Drake. And then you said Xavier against
Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is the last team in the field right now.
Absolutely love it. 2 Big East teams. Xavier beating Creighton a few days ago. So they could sneak in there. Obviously, we'd love to see Seton Hall get in just the way they're playing. That's a tough game against Drake, but
former Seton Hall transfer is their big man. A little bit of redemption game if that game ends up happening. Give me a rating. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I was going to go 7. Okay. 7 out of 10. Just because I like those Big East teams. They're good matchups, especially the Seton Hall Drake game. Obviously got to go for Hall, but Drake's a tough team. So it'll be a good game.
They're legit this year out of the MVC. That's a conference that they're hoping they can get Drake in as that second team, because Loyola Chicago looks scary at the moment. But all right, let's jump to our next one. All right, so this is the next scenario that I'm going to give you. So the first 4 games would be Louisville versus UConn. And then the second game would be Utah State versus St. Louis. Give me a rating there. What do you think?
I'm going to go a little higher on this one. I'll give that an 8 out of 10.
Ooh, an 8. Okay.
UConn, ever since joining the Big East, they've proved themselves. They've played pretty well. They had a few issues with COVID, so a slow start for them. But I think they're another Big East team that sneaks in there and plays well. And you said they would play.
So UConn, Louisville. That's a game. That's a game to watch. Game.
Yeah, that's better than the Seton Hall Drake matchup. That
game alone makes the first 4. And then the second game would have been, I said, Utah State, St. Louis, which it's an okay matchup. It's not great, I would probably give the rating. I would probably go a little lower here just because of the balancing of the two games. Because Louisville, UConn, that's a 10.
Yeah.
Like that game's a 10 out of 10. That's much CTV.
I
James
don't
Bouknight is absolutely insane for the Huskies, and they're unstoppable when he's able to play on the court. And he's been injured this year. But again, the St. Louis Utah State game. I mean, I'm out here in Utah, Idaho, just a couple hours north of Ogden, Utah, where Utah State plays. So I know I've been watching a lot of their games. They got some scores. I know Sam Merrill's not there anymore, who was a superstar last year for them, but they're decent. So I'm going to go a 6.5 out of 10, just because that Utah State St. Louis matchup, I know it's two non-Power 5 schools that they're both defensive. The game won't be as high scoring as you think, but that Louisville UConn matchup must see, right?
That's what raised it for me. That's a matchup to see.
All right, so let's do another one. I think I'm actually enjoying this little game that we're playing. All right, so we'll do two more. So the third one we're gonna have. All right, so Xavier versus Seton Hall, and then it's gonna be Memphis versus Indiana. So Xavier, Seton Hall, and Memphis versus Indiana. What we got there? That's a little. That's pretty low for me, honestly. That's a low one.
I would go like 7.2. I love a good Big East matchup.
Okay.
I don't like the matchup for Seton Hall against Xavier. Xavier's been playing extremely well. And the way Seton Hall's been playing, I think Xavier just absolutely destroys them to get in. And then Indiana
versus Memphis.
Not another two teams who have tournament experience. That would be another good game. I like Indiana in that game, but love the Big East matchup. But
yeah, I'm gonna go in between. So I've gone 6.5, 7.5. This is a 7 for me. I'll split it again. Seton Hall, Xavier, Big East matchup. Love that. Always love when we get our Seton Hall in the tournament though too. A little biased there.
Not in a playing game situation though.
Just get it. Right. We don't want the play-in, but at this point in the stage, we'll take what we can get because we're flirting with the bubble in the first place. That's what happens when we have just barely our only quad one win is UConn. So that's another story. But then again, the Indiana Memphis game, a lot of history between those two programs for them being in the tournament. Neither team has really made a lot of noise recently. But again, so I go 7 out of 10. I think both of those games are interestingly intriguing. All right, so I've been saving this crazy one for last. And Paps and I, we talked about this one because I was doing this. I'm going through a randomizer, and these are the 4 scenarios that popped up. All right, you ready, people? Michigan State versus Duke, Indiana versus Syracuse. That is absolutely nuts that you could have that in the first 4. That would make the NCAA tournament worth it at all. Those 2 games. You would have Krzyzewski, Izzo, Boeheim, the 3 arguably of the greatest coaches ever, and then you would have this pristine history that is Indiana basketball. And the game is in the state of Indiana, and the tournament's in the state of Indiana this year. Like, that's not even all. That's all. If you go higher than 10, it'd be like a 12, but 10 out of 10 for me. Like those 2, like if that happens, like the tournament, there's going to be no disappointments in this NCAA tournament whatsoever.
Especially for a playing game. That's something you just don't see, just absolutely insane. Duke, Michigan State, both teams, we wouldn't even think that we would be seeing them outside to playing in. But to get that before the tournament even starts, easily 10 out of 10. If we get that game, that's something to watch.
Yeah. All right, Paps. I'm going to throw you on the spot here. If you had to decide, if you're Joe Lunardi or Andy Katz or any of those bracketologists, who are your 4 teams in?
Oof. All right.
Are you going to go Homer and go Hall? Or are you going to leave Hall on the outside?
I'm going to put the Hall in. I'm going to have all my trust in them. They're going to beat
Okay.
UConn tomorrow. They're going to beat them Wednesday night. Tune in. They're going to get in.
We're really hyping up this UConn Seton Hall match.
Yeah, definitely. It's a must watch. It's literally
It's
win or go
basically a
home.
play-in game for these two teams.
Yeah, win or go home. So I'm gonna go with the Hall. I'm gonna put them in. I'm gonna go Michigan State, just the way they've been playing. As long as they don't gotta play Duke, I'll stick Duke in there. One more team. I'll go Indiana.
That's a great four. Those are some great games. Duke, Indiana, Michigan State, Hall. Woo! Sign me up.
Yeah. I'll go with those four. As long as Michigan State keeps playing the way they're playing, I don't see them not getting in. That would be my top. Duke as well. They're the number 2 for me. Indiana at 3, and then Seton Hall 4.
As the last team in.
Yeah.
All right. So my 4.
As long as they win, they gotta win, and I'm banking on them winning.
Good thing we're recording the podcast on a Tuesday, because if this was Thursday, we could be either really hyped or really bummed. So
don't take my word for that. Don't go betting on those 4 teams.
Yeah, don't bet on those
terrible
4 teams.
luck.
We're not that big of a bracketology experts, but I'm gonna give you my 4. All right. So Seton Hall is actually gonna be out for me.
Oof.
I hate to say it, because I think just that
lost to St. John's at the end of the season. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, honestly, I think the Johnnies could. Isn't it at St. John's on Saturday too? Or are we hosting? I don't know. That's the definition of a trap game.
At St. John's, we played them.
St. John's. Yeah, that's a trap game and a half.
Yeah,
especially with St. John's now mathematically eliminated. Like, they're gonna want to play spoiler.
St. John's plays phenomenal at home.
Yeah.
Absolutely, from experience.
I have Seton Hall on the outside looking in. I think they're going to be either the first or second team out. So I'm going to I like Michigan State and Duke. I'm putting them in. I trust Izzo and Krzyzewski, even though both of their teams are down this year. Michigan State, Duke. I think Boise State's going to fall out. So Boise State will move into the last 4 in, because they are a last 4 bye team at the moment. And then I'm going to move in. I'm going to leave Georgia Tech in there. I think Georgia Tech, Josh Pastner has them playing really good ball. I think Georgia Tech's going to stay in. So my first 4 matchups are going to be it's going to be Duke, Michigan State. You got to set up that game, because it's the only reason the NCAA tournament will actually be willing to watch those first 4 games. And I think the second game will be Boise State, Georgia Tech. And again, I'm from Idaho. I've been watching a lot of Boise State right now as well. Like, Boise State's got a couple guards that can score the ball. And Josh Pastner's Georgia Tech team, they know how to play defense. They struggle to score, but that's why they're rolling right now. Their defense is humming because of the Yellow Jacket tag. Sorry, I geeked for a second, but yeah, I think those first 4 games, I would probably give it an 8 out of 10, just because of how great the Michigan State Duke matchup would be. But I think Boise State, they're in right now easily, but I think they're going to slip up, because you're going to have Utah State, Colorado State. That Mountain West this year is a lot better than people think. You have San Diego State's absolutely legit, as always. And you have Boise State, Utah State, and Colorado State. All 3 of those teams are on the bubble right now. And you're only going to probably get one more of them in, because they're going to all beat up on each other in those semifinal, final matchups. And I think Boise State ends up losing to San Diego State in the final. So Boise State will be that last team in against Georgia Tech, because I think Georgia Tech has an opportunity with the ACC down to really make a good push. So those are my 4. Not too shabby, right?
Leaving the Hall out, but
I didn't want to be a homer. I couldn't take it. I'm begging for Seton Hall to be in the tournament. I'm begging here.
It's tough. I'm 50-50 on this game on Wednesday. If Bryce Aiken plays, it's still 50-50. And we're hanging on by a thread. But Blaine, you threw me a curveball, and I'm looking at this bracket now. The brackets, it's out, the new bracket, Andy Katz's prediction. for this year's tournament. So I'm going to throw you a curveball. Who is your Final Four right now?
Oh, God.
Early Final
Right now?
Right now, early Final
I don't
Four.
want to. I don't want to give out my prediction right now. I mean,
Early. It could change. Early Final Four. Who you got?
I mean, I don't think anybody's going to beat Gonzaga. So I got Gonzaga in my Final Four. I got Gonzaga as my champions right now. Like, they're just on a completely different level. I think this is a big game tonight for Baylor. They play West Virginia tonight on the road in Morgantown. You're going to really see. I know Baylor has been coming off of multiple COVID pauses now, and they really struggled at Kansas this past weekend. So I think that's a big statement game for them. But I'm going to go Gonzaga. Then I got to pull it up here. Gonzaga's my one. So that's out of Region 1 based off of Lenardi. So that eliminates a bunch of teams. I love the Illini. I really do. Ayo Dosunmu, absolute superstar. They have 3 guards that can really put the ball in the hole. So I'm going to go Illinois as my second team. Yeah, because out of that bracket.
You love the one.
I'm going 2 1s. I'm not going a 1, though, the rest of the way. Those are my 2 1s.
All right.
I have Baylor out, actually. Baylor's going to lose. Let's see in this bracket. I am going to throw a real curveball here and go with Florida State out of Region 3 because the top 5 seeds are Baylor, Ohio State, Florida State, Arkansas, Creighton. That's a really open bracket based off of what I'm looking at Lenardi right now. So this is all contemporary. I could be completely wrong because some of these teams could be playing each other earlier on, but I'm going based off of Joe Lenardi's stuff. Then my 4th team, Michigan, West Virginia. And who's the 3? Villanova. Virginia's the 4. Oklahoma's the 5. Wisconsin's the 6. This is another open bracket here. Out of this bracket here as my other 4th and final team, I am going to go with West Virginia. So I went with 2 1s, a 3, and a 2.
All right.
What do you got to do it now? There's no holding back. I know your bracket's going to probably be completely different. So
yeah, a little different. I'm going with Andy Katz's. I think Iowa, once they get rolling, I think they'll take down Gonzaga, get into the Final Four.
You have Iowa. Iowa's in that bracket?
Iowa. So I'm going to stick with Iowa.
Iowa is in the Gonzaga bracket. Okay. I just don't think Gonzaga's going to lose.
I'm going to go with the 2, okay. Iowa. Let me take a look at the bottom left again, but I'm going to go Michigan from the top right, the 1.
Okay, so you're going to 1 there.
All right. I like Ohio State in the bottom right, but something.
You want to go another Big Ten team?
Something tells me Villanova being in there, they could sneak in there, but I'm going to go lower end. I'm going to go with the 4. I'll go with Purdue getting out of there.
Wow, that's a real surprise.
I'll go with a surprise. I'll go with Purdue getting out of there. With Ohio State and Villanova and Xavier. They have Xavier in there too.
Again, we are looking at 2 completely different brackets. So our Final Fours are completely different. When March Madness releases their stuff, we will have our legit Final Four picks. These are just based off of what we're looking at right now.
So
I just want to make that perfectly clear.
I got Purdue, Michigan.
Purdue, Michigan, Iowa. You already have 2 Big Ten teams. Who's the 4th?
My last one. I'm gonna go Texas Tech at the 4.
Wow! Wait, Texas Tech's on the 4 line.
Texas Tech's at the 4 line.
Texas Tech's on the 6 line on my bracket. That's a really wide gap.
That's a big difference. Maryland's the 6th on.
Yeah, Texas Tech's is 6 right now on Lenardi. That's actually a lot bigger of a difference than I thought.
That is a big difference.
So you're going Texas Tech. So what's your 4? You got Iowa, Michigan, Texas Tech, and then you went Purdue, right? That's your 4?
So two 4s, a 2, and a 1.
Dude, you went 3 Big Ten teams. You know that, right?
Yeah. I love it. Big Ten.
I mean, the Big Ten is the best conference.
Oh.
It's not even close, but
Yeah, easily.
well, that's interesting. So those are our final fours based off of two completely different brackets, people. So
It's
there's
early.
no shot. None of these. This is going to be anything correct and accurate. But we're just.
If they do, there better be some money coming in my pocket.
Yeah. Right. Well,
it's early. Very early.
So real interesting stuff. I think we're so grateful that March Madness is now around the corner. I think this is great stuff that we're going to be looking forward to with conference tournaments starting up this week and then next week and then March Madness the week after that. Paps, I want to appreciate you for coming on Final Whistle. It's always a blast having you on.
Always great. Thanks for having me again, Blaine.
As always.
Cool.
Hey, everybody, we got some great content coming out this week that are going to be some surprises for you all. So be on the lookout for some more Final Whistle. As always, I'm Blaine Spencer. Enjoy your week, everybody.